In this lesson, we will see how we can apply different pictures or different designs to different faces of a single cube. So I'll go ahead and create a cube, create polygon primitives, cube. I'll press 5 to see the shaded mode. I'm going to apply a basic texture to it. Right click, choose assign new material, choose Lambert, and in the color attributes let's apply a checker. Now to make that checker visible in the viewport, we can press 6. That's great. Now let's take a look at how the UV is being laid out by default in Maya. I'll select the object, go to Window, and choose UV Texture Editor. So it opens up the UV Texture Editor. Now it shows the UV, but it is not clear. It's actually blending with the existing picture that we have. So what I will do is I'll just go ahead and click on this face picture, that is to display or toggle the texture that we have created. So now this is the way Maya by default lays out the UV. So we can check, if I select a particular face here, it will show where that face is being laid out. If I check this side, it shows me where that is laid out. I can also select these edges if I want. Okay. At the same time, I can also check with the UVs or vertex. So if I select the UV, for example, that UV is being here. And if I check this one, it's up here. And you'll notice that some of the UVs will have 2 or more places. Same UVs will be in more than one place. So for example, this UV is in 2 places. It's here and here, which actually means that this 3D object has got one UV here, which is being spread across these 2 places. So that means when I fold this 2D space into the 3D object, this point and this point will coincide with each other, forming this one UV. So let's go ahead and take this UV layout and let's take it to Photoshop, and we can paint on it whatever designs that we want. We can bring it back. So I'll go ahead and take this to Photoshop. First, make sure that you have made a selection of the object. Go to Image and choose Create PSD Network. Let's click on it. We have to choose where we want to save it. By default, it will take the source images folder in your project. So for now, I'll give a name for this. I'll say box UV. Okay, and let's choose size. We have to tick this on so that it will automatically open Adobe Photoshop for us once we click create. The resolution, try to keep it something above 1024 by 1024. You can also leave it with 1024. Keep aspect ratio on, include UV snapshot, and choose a color value for the UV snapshot. This color value will decide what color you want to show these UVs in Photoshop. So by default it will be white. You can change it to red so that it will be easily distinctive when we take it to Photoshop. And here we have to choose which attributes we want to take to Photoshop. So depending on whatever attributes you want, you can choose color, transparency, incandescence, bump, and so on and so forth. For now, let's choose only color and click next button so the color comes to the right side. So this is the selected attributes that we want to have in order to paint in Photoshop. So once that is done, let's click create. So that should automatically open Photoshop. Okay, so once it opens up in Photoshop, we can see multiple layers that are being created by default. So the top one is our UV snapshot layer, which will have the UV which is in red color. You can see a thin line of red color here. And then we have a folder with the name of the material and with the name of the attribute. So inside Lambert 2 material, this is the color attribute. So color by default we are being welcomed with the checker that we applied earlier. Okay, and then we have background. Now the point to keep in mind is whatever you create inside this folder only will be shown in that attribute. So if you want to apply any color information, if you want to paint something, you have to put it inside this folder. Anything that you create outside this folder, for example in the background layer or in the UV snapshot, will not show in Maya. So whatever you want to be shown in Maya, you have to create it inside this folder. So first step, I want to delete this checker that I have. I don't want the checker to be available, so I'll make a selection and delete. So now we can see the UV snapshot. It's the same UV snapshot that we saw here. If I select it, you can see that that is the UV layout that we have by default. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a plain color first. I'll choose a color. For example, I will choose something like green, dark green. Okay, and I'll say Alt backspace to fill the entire picture. Now I'll go for a new layer. I choose the text tool. I'm going to type in some numbers here. So I'll click here and say number 1. It's in black color. I'll change it to white. Okay, and if you want, you can change the font. Let me choose some nice stylish font. Okay, I think that looks good. I'll make the size to be a bit bigger. Okay, that's good enough. I'll go ahead and move it to the center. Okay, good. Now what I'll do is I'll make duplicates of the same. I will put different numbers in each of these boxes. So I'll change this to 2. I'll make one more duplicate, move it to the left, and change it to 3. Make another duplicate, take it up, 4, take it up, 5, make one more duplicate, take it up, change this to 6. Okay, so once we got that much, I'll just go ahead and choose File, Save, and that's it. Now if I go back to Maya, it does not get updated instantly by itself. We have to go to Image and choose Update PSD Network. You can just keep this open. So now you will see that all these pictures, or each of these boxes, will have its own text. We can also see that here. You can see that the same UV layout, whatever we create, will be showing up here. So this way we can apply any kind of color or design or pattern to any of the faces based on the UV that we have in Maya.